All right, you know that spiky green plant? The one you see on kitchen windowsills or maybe in the skincare aisle? That's aloe vera. And today, we're going to get to the bottom of it. Is this thing really a miracle plant or is it just, hype?
I mean, here's a question I'm sure a lot of you have had. You get a dark spot, hyperpigmentation, right? And someone tells you, oh, just put some aloe on it. But does that actually work? Can a simple houseplant really fade your dark spots? Well, let's find out. And look, this isn't some new fangled wellness trend. Not at all. The buzz around aloe vera goes back way back, thousands of years. I mean, the ancient Egyptians called it the plant of immortality. That tells you everything you need to know about how much they valued this stuff.
Okay, so let's dig into that legendary status. Where did this incredible reputation even come from? Well, for thousands of years, it was the go-to for beauty and healing. We're talking Cleopatra, Nefertiti, they were all supposedly fans. Now, fast forward a bit. In the US in the 1800s, it was mainly known for, well, as a laxative. But then the 1930s hit, and that was a huge turning point. That's when it was successfully used to treat some really severe skin burns from radiation. So that's the history, the legend. But what's the science behind it? To really get it, we've got to look inside the leaf itself. Okay, so the official name is Alobarbadensis miller. It's a succulent, which basically just means it's really good at storing water. That's why you find it growing in all these dry, arid places in Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. If you were to slice open an aloe leaf, you'd find three separate layers. You've got the tough outer skin, the rind. Then there's this middle layer of bitter yellow sap called latex. And remember that part, it's going to be important later. And finally, you get to the good stuff, that clear inner gel. And that gel is almost all water. So, inside that gel and latex, get this, scientists have found 75 potentially active components. That is a huge amount of different compounds for just one plant. So what's in the mix? Honestly, it's like a little natural pharmacy. You've got antioxidant vitamins like A, C, and E. You've got enzymes that fight inflammation, all sorts of minerals, sugars that are super moisturizing, and remember those anthraquinones I mentioned? Yep, those are the laxative compounds found in the latex. On top of all that, you have fatty acids that also help with inflammation. It's a seriously complex cocktail of stuff. Okay, so we know it's packed with all this goodness, but how does that translate to our skin? Let's get back to our main question. Right, so how does it actually lighten hyperpigmentation? The science here is still pretty new, but researchers are zeroing in on a couple of key compounds that seem to do the heavy lifting. Basically, it seems to have this really cool two-pronged attack on dark spots. First, there's a compound called aloin. Think of it like a demolition crew for your skin. It helps destroy the melanin cells that are already there. But at the same time, there's another compound called allosin, and it acts more like a security guard, stopping new melanin from even forming in the first place. And it's not just about dark spots. Those sugars we talked about, they're amazing moisturizers because they bind moisture to your skin. Plus, aloe actually encourages your skin to make more collagen and elastin, which is what keeps it looking firm and feeling elastic. So yeah, with all these potential perks, you can see why so many people want to just, slice open a leaf and use it directly. And if you do want to try that, it's actually pretty simple. First, make sure you've got a mature plant, a few years old is best. Then just slice off a thick leaf from the outside. Wash it, trim off the spiky sides, and then carefully scrape out only that clear inner gel. You really want to avoid the yellow latex part. Once you've got the gel, just stick it in an airtight container in the fridge. All right, so let's get down to the bottom line. What's real, what's a myth, and what are the safety concerns we need to keep in mind? Okay, this chart breaks it down really well. On one side, you have uses that are actually supported by some solid scientific evidence, things like psoriasis, skin burns, even acne. But then on the other side, you've got this whole list of things that are mostly based on tradition or theory. We're talking hair loss, arthritis, stuff like that. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, just that we need a lot more research to prove it. And that really is the main message from the scientific community. This quote from the Indian Journal of Dermatology just hits the nail on the head. It says that most of the clinical use is supported by anecdotal data, personal stories, and that what we really need are more controlled trials to know for sure. The potential is there, but for a lot of these claims, the proof just isn't conclusive yet. And this is really important. We have to talk about safety. Putting it on your skin, using it topically, is one thing. For some people with sensitive skin, it might cause some redness or irritation. But ingesting it, taking it orally, that's a whole different ballgame. It can lead to things like cramps and diarrhea, mess with your electrolytes, and some studies suggest long-term use could even increase certain health risks. You also have to be super careful about drug interactions. On your skin, it can actually make steroid creams like hydrocortisone absorb more. And if you take it orally, it can interact with diuretics, insulin, and other diabetes drugs. And it's an absolute no-go for oral use if you're pregnant. So, after all that, what's the verdict? Is it a magic bullet? Definitely not. But is it just hype? No, not really. It seems to be a genuinely useful plant, especially for our skin, with some real science to back it up, even if we're still figuring it all out. So the real question isn't, is it good or bad? It's more like, how do we balance what nature gives us with what the evidence shows us?